Hi, my name is Carrie Conley. I'm going to be teaching y'all a little bit about the Biltmore Estate today. I wanted to teach y'all or talk to y'all about this because I actually visited recently, about a year ago, and I found it to be very interesting, and I wanted to let y'all know some fun information about it. Okay. George Washington Vanderbilt came over from New York City to Asheville, North Carolina, near the mountains in the late 1880s, and he had this idea of building a great big estate, and so he bought 250,000 acres of land and started figuring out an idea to build this huge mansion, which is now the biggest house in America. George Vanderbilt is very intellectual. He's very fluent in multiple languages. He's got great interest in art and architecture and horticulture and many other things as well. George Vanderbilt married Edith Dresser, and they got married in Paris, France. He met her when he was traveling across the country to figure out some things that he wanted to incorporate into his house. They had one child together, Cornelia, and she was born and grew up on the estate. The landscape. The father of landscape and architecture, Frederick Olmsted, actually was the one who designed the house itself, and he put the estate right in the middle so it overlooked all the mountains, and he came up with many gardens, a 4-acre walled garden, an all-American rose garden, and there are 500,000 tulips every single spring. And they have special flowers from everywhere, from every different season. And even when it snows, they make wood designs and put them out everywhere. The architecture. The architecture was built by his friend and architect Richard Hunt. They were very close, and he wanted him to be able to design the house. Before they started building, they traveled the country and the world together to get different ideas from different cultures. That way they could all incorporate everything into this one house. They started building in the late 1800s and finished in 1895, and George opened his house on Christmas Eve to his guests. But just because they opened it, not all the work was done. Finding the pieces. George Vanderbilt wanted to make this house so extravagant, so he got multiple things from, like I said, all over the world put into this one house. He had artworks by Renoir and Sargent and Whistler, and they were hung on the ceilings, across the walls. There was furniture designed by Sheraton and Chippendale. There was a chess and gaming table that was Napoleon's during his time in exile. And there was Chinese goldfish bowls from the Ming Dynasty that he had everywhere, and 18th century tapestries that hung. And tapestries are the carpets that hang from the ceilings. And yes, those are a bunch of interesting things that he had in his house. George Vanderbilt's mansion also had a lot of the first of the late 1800s, early 1900s. They had the first indoor pool, which is very cool because it's still in their day. They had the fully electric and heated by a generator, which is up there as well, I think. Yes, and they also had kind of like an intercom system, like a way for the servants and them to be able to call each other when they wanted breakfast. And they had a dumbwaiter, an indoor plumbing, one of the first telephones, a fire alarm. And it was actually one considered one of the most technologically advanced, like about everything. And people today are still blown away by how it was so technology advanced for its time.
Could you pardon the interruption?
The Biltmore Estate. These are some of the pictures within their house. This right here is a super small light. It's a glass jar, and it's a garden. And then this is the master bedroom. That's a servant's room. Up here is their dining room, a bowling alley, and their kitchen. The Reserve Biltmore. The Biltmore today is still a place where many tourists go. It's a great attraction, and They have many vineyards and restaurants. You're able to get married here. They have inside tours of all the buildings all the time. There are different huge sunflower fields and gardens that people still walk around. There's shopping. You can go horseback riding. I think they only kept 8,000 acres. I mean, out of everything, that's still a lot of acres, but out of 250,000, that's all they kept. But I really would suggest visiting the Biltmore. It's very beautiful. It's very historical, and you get to see all these beautiful things like in the garden. This is just in the summer. I put some summer and the Christmas tree in the snow. And that's all. And you can learn a lot about the Biltmore Estate.
Good job.